Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Routing Loop. I am in select company today, joined by Matt and Jamie. I'm Alex, Network Specialist Solutions Architect at AWS. Matt, Jamie, do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves for those of folks joining us who don't know you?
Sure. My name is James Wenzel. Everybody calls me Jamie. You guys see me all the time. Solutions architect, networking specialist. Happy to help.
I'm Matt Lewis.
Matt?
I'm a solution architect on the EC2 team. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Either.
Awesome. All of us here are longstanding hosts of the Routing Loop. For those of you joining us who don't know what the Routing Loop is, it's not an actual routing loop. We're trying to avoid that as much as possible. It is a show on Twitch focused on networking and content delivery on AWS. We talk about services, solutions, architectures, best practices, and so on. Before we dive right into the topic of today, which is a really interesting topic, and it actually got everyone polarized here. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I have a catchphrase for the routing loop.
Uh-oh.
Do you guys want to hear it?
Oh, sure.
Stay in the loop at the routing loop.
Wow.
As long as you say it like that, then we can record it.
Stay in the
should do
loop
a
with
promo video.
AWS networking at the I don't know. We can work on that one.
We should totally do it. We should totally do it. Put it on the Routing Loop website. And by the way, for those of you who don't know the Routing Loop website, we're going to put it into the chat here. Here you have all the past episodes, upcoming episodes, recordings. So check it out and make sure you go through it. Yeah, go ahead, Matt. I feel like we're at
stop
school.
raising my hand? I just had another
I'm gonna
idea.
raise my hand now.
Let's make some stickers for reInvent. They can be
Oh,
routing
for
loop
sure.
stickers, and it can say "Stay in the loop with AWS networking." or
Get in the
something.
loop.
Get in the loop.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Avoid
Love
routing loops with the routing loop.
Yeah. I don't know. You don't want to avoid. You want to be inclusive, right?
If y'all have ideas, by the way, of stickers for the Routing Loop for reInvent, and you guys are coming at reInvent and you want these cool stickers, let us know in the chat. Also, let us know
And
in the
then
chat where you're
I'll raise my
joining
hand.
us from.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
go
raise
for
my
it. I love
The
the
way you
school
can get
thing.
the
I like it.
The way you can get the stickers is you have to join either Matt or myself or Alex's sessions, or
Yes.
Sid, or Sid.
Yep. Tom's.
Tom's.
Yep.
I forgot about Tom. So easy. Yeah. So join one of our sessions and you can get an exclusive, specially designed by Matt and Alex, most likely. They'll probably have cats and wizards, a routing loop sticker.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and in the meantime, before we warm up and we dive right into the topic here, let us know in the chat where you guys are joining us from. Folks, sorry. I'm Alex, as I mentioned, and I'm joining you all from San Francisco, downtown. Matt, I think you're local too, right?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco, but I'm in the Sunset District. I'm about 20 blocks
nice.
from the beach, and the beach is
Nice.
beautiful today. So I've blocked from 3 p.m. onwards, and you'll find me at Ocean Beach.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And I'm in a
Nice.
basement. I'm in Buffalo.
But
New
nobody
York.
knows.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
knows to this day.
I'm in Buffalo, New York. It is starting to get cold. Halloween is coming soon, and we have crazy Halloween decorations here. Pumpkins, all that stuff, fall, that's our thing. So I will be soon on a motorcycle riding through multicolored trees and woods. So that's my
so
plan.
nice.
That sounds great.
It sounds amazing. If you folks are all curious about the sessions that we are all going to have at reInvent, we're going to post here in the chat throughout the show some of those session IDs so that you folks can go search for them in the catalog and mark them as favorite. Get your seat reserved. We're also going to have walk-ins for those of you who didn't get a seat reservation, so worry not.
Are we doing a pre-invent stream?
That's a good idea.
We have a slot next week. Maybe I don't think we've designated it for anything. So maybe we do a know before you go pre-invent for AWS Network. That would be cool. Let us know in the chat.
That would be really cool. Yeah, let us know in the chat. That would be awesome. Oh yes, and Halloween is not today. Sorry, on Friday, right?
Friday.
Friday.
I was considering wearing a cloak and like some stuff today, but It's not going to really work out.
We should have thought about that. We should have thought about
I'd have to go find my wizard hat. It's somewhere
next
in
week.
storage, maybe.
Do a post-Halloween pre-reinvent show.
Correct. Many posters.
All right, I'm going to stop kidding.
Cool. Let's dive right into the topic. This is a really, really interesting topic. Polarized opinions around it all over. I've recently worked with a lot of customers who are considering it. I've worked with a lot of customers who have moved away from it. And Jamie and Matt here have also really good insights to share with you all today about the topic of today, which is VPC sharing. Let us know in the chat, first and foremost, if you've heard of it. If you know what VPC sharing is, if you've played with it, if you're implementing it, if you're using it actually for your production workloads. But yeah, today we are aiming at answering a question, which is to do or not to do VPC sharing. To be or not to be, that was the analogy. Like, Matt, I got inspired by your get in the loop with the routing loop.
That's good. I like it.
I like Daryl's point. Do friends share their VPCs? Matt, you had one saying at some point that friends don't let friends do SSH into their EC2 instances or something like that. I don't know. Do friends let friends share their VPCs? I think that's
Let's answer that question today. I think that is the question.
That is a good.
That is the question.
And then, should friends share VPCs with their friends?
Absolutely. I don't know. We'll see about that. We'll see till the end of the stream. So before we dive right into the pros and cons of VPC sharing, let's start with what is Amazon VPC sharing. Matt or Jamie, do you guys want to give it a stab?
I'll give a quick 2-sentence description. It's basically the ability to take a subnet and share it with another account so folks can participate and deploy things in that subnet. And that leads to the verbiage that we use with VPC sharing. There's an owner of a VPC, so the owner account, and there's a participant. And the participant is another account, which is basically deploying stuff inside that subnet. All within, I don't know, we don't have the box here, but all within an AWS organization, though, too, right?
Yes.
Not cross-organization, which is like most things anyway. But.
Yeah.
How'd they do, Jamie?
I think he did very well. You know what's really funny? Fun, stupid fact. Do you remember when Piyush was working on making this as a PM that was working on VPC sharing? I helped.
Nice.
That was a fun time. So Alex is going to play.
Piyush is at another provider now. I don't know if we talk about it.
Yeah, I know.
Is he around? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, so sharing subnets in a VPC that's owned by the VPC owner account with participant accounts, other accounts in the same organization using AWS Resource Access Manager. Now, the cool stuff about VPC sharing, we're going to get to this, is that you see these icons that are grayed out on this diagram, the IGW, route tables, NAT gateways, private link endpoints, etc. This, the VPC sharing construct is a mechanism of centralizing networking controls, essentially, to say permissions lay with the account that owns the VPC for adding or removing IGWs or eIGWs from the VPC. IGWs, internet gateways, egress-only internet gateways, to create or delete NAT gateways, to create, remove, update route tables, to create, update VPC endpoints. Participant accounts only get the permissions to essentially deploy their resources in there, their compute resources, right? So I hope that's kind of clear for everyone. Let us know in the chat if you folks are using it. I see TechFueled sharing here as being in the same org, a hard requirement to be able to use a shared subnet. Yes, today that is a hard requirement. You have to be in the same AWS organization. I'm super curious, actually, what would be the reasons for which you would not be in the same organization? Would you share a subnet in your VPC with an account that is not part of your organization? Kind of a big security concern there. Curious what your use case would be.
Yeah, just to note that, remember that the resources that are being launched in, one of them is an EC2 instance. And I can only think of, if you're sharing that with an organization or with a company outside of your organization that you don't trust, Trojan horse pops into mind. You have this EC2 instance and all of a sudden starts sending all this traffic and spamming. Yeah, that wouldn't be very
Got
good.
it. There's a clarification here from TechField, which I think we should take. The reason I ask is we are a multi-org company. That's pretty common, actually. But you did choose to have things in separate orgs, right? So let's say app accounts in org 1 are different from app accounts in org 2. Would you share network infrastructure between orgs if you've decided that the accounts are in different orgs to begin with? An interesting
And we
question.
do have constructs to allow that under more, what would you say, scrutiny or a bit more fine-grained controls if you need to share with organizations, other organizations, or even non-trusted entities. So just because VPC sharing can't do it with other orgs doesn't end the story.
Yeah, that's true. And TechField, we see that you have some use cases for that. Highly recommend you reach out to us through the account team, and we can have some chats there. Very on point for your use case.
Am I jumping ahead if I ask, what are the segmentation mechanisms that customers would use? It's really VPC or subnet. Like, I'm thinking on an application basis. Like, let's say you're a central IT team and you've got 100 teams with 100 applications. Mm-hmm. How do you vend out your stuff? Do you use ServiceNow with an account and you give every app owner an account? Do you give them a VPC? Do you give them a subnet? Do you share one subnet across those? I think that's like that account structure question is like, I'm getting started in a central IT org. What do I do? I don't know if we have the best answer for that. Like, there's multiple different ways to do it depending on.
Yeah, let me ask you some dependings. Are you multi-tenant? Are you single tenant? Are you single share? Are you SaaS? Are you doing it within an organization? Are all the parties trusted? Are they untrusted? We do have answers for all those, but yeah, you're right, it gets a little muddied.
I think if we want to do a bit of a baseline, there are two big boundaries in AWS that you should be kind of mindful about. The first is the network level, the account level boundary. Your account boundary is your resource boundary, billing boundary. That's what you get when you come to AWS. The account comes with default VPCs in every region, which takes us to the second order boundary, which is the network level boundary, which is that VPC ID. I think if we start from there, there's many organizations, and it's actually best practice to adopt a multi-account strategy to not have everything in a single account. Now, how you divide that, how do you get applications receive accounts? I think first and foremost, comes back to the level of security controls you want to enforce between those applications that would live in the same account or would live otherwise in different accounts. Because if app A and app B get both access to the same account, then security controls are a bit harder to enforce. That makes sense.
I think I would I'd break it down into two different factors for that, because you mentioned a lot of app sharing, but also we have infrastructure sharing, right? So are you sharing your applications or are you sharing your infrastructure? Because that also can change the game a bit depending on what your intent is.
Yeah.
How do we define sharing though? Is it, like the application is, I always think about things as far as network packets. And if you've got an application and someone wants to access that application from another application, now you need to build the routing and connectivity between one application and another. Is that what we mean by sharing an application?
Yeah, I would say that would be sharing the application, but sometimes you need to actually share your infrastructure. So like extending your subnet and allowing other people to launch into a subnet to do what they need to do, not necessarily application-wise, but to take advantage of the infrastructure that you have in place. Right now, granted, the ultimate goal will be to contact something else, but that middle road, that piece where the packet's going across that middle road, becomes more finite when you're talking about sharing infrastructure versus sharing apps. I can connect an app a couple of different ways, right? And as long as that app connects the way that I need to and both apps operate, I'm good. But when you connect infrastructure, things get a lot more down to the fine grain, where I can't just say, I'm going to share this and not really care, because your infrastructure links to everything else. You know what I'm saying? So your roads are versus your houses you're building on top of the roads or the cars you're driving on top of the roads, I guess.
What does it look like on premises? The equivalent. It's really a VLAN, isn't it? You've got a VLAN and then you've got VRFs and you're doing routing between those. I think what we're talking about at a high level sounds complicated, and it seems like on premises sounds simpler. But having worked in an environment that had thousands of VRFs and had maxed out the 4,000 VLAN limitation on most networking pieces of equipment across multiple different domains, stitching connectivity for those types of infrastructures got immensely complex.
Yeah.
Right. You would say, I'm going through this VRF and I'm sharing route targets and I'm doing this and this firewall and I'm bridging that. And we had one guy who had this like sheet of firewall rules and that person would go in and enter the firewall rule in this segment. And it just got massively complex. I think we've gone in a different direction where the componentry might be a little more complex and the foundations, there's a lot of different options, but it means that the end result is far easier to manage, not to mention that everything is API-fiable and can be automated and everything else, right? So I just wonder how the two compare at the same level when you get to hundreds of applications.
Well, let's see how those map to sharing and non-sharing and why you would do it or why wouldn't you do it.
I think we've derailed poor Alex enough.
No, I think there's really good questions there. I think some of these questions might be under the area of influence of VPC sharing. Some of them might be under the area of influence of like AWS networking constructs altogether and how they map to existing constructs in the on-premises world. So we'll see. Okay, back to VPC sharing. I don't see you all in the chat really active. Let us know if folks are using VPC sharing and let us know what we're missing, by the way, in all of these reasons why customers would say yes to VPC sharing. I've done my best. I've tried. Let's see. Jamie and Matt, keep me honest here and let's see if I missed anything. So part one, governance and control. And we're starting with centralized network ownership. Like that's the whole point of VPC sharing, right? You have a centrally managed VPC, shared subnets with participant accounts. Then unified guardrails, easier enforcement of service control policies at the organizational level, identity and access management boundaries, and network baselines at scale. So essentially imagine having VPCs that are stamped or configured the same. Simplified network level auditing. So VPC owner can centrally collect network telemetry, such as flow logs, can use reachability analyzer to sort of troubleshoot the network. Consistent network and security configurations. So one team that manages route tables, network access control lists, and shared security groups across all participant accounts. What do you folks think?
I love
Good
this.
enough reasons?
I love
Are
this.
you are you sold?
This sounds great. This sounds amazing. The alternative is you've got a customer that says, all right, we'll have some overloading of applications, but mostly we'll have a VPC per application. Now connect everything together. We've got 30, 40, 100, 5,000 VPCs. What does that connectivity model look like? You've got a nice little boundary around your applications. That's great. But the interconnectivity gets massively complicated. Here, you've got a central team that says, my job is to manage the VPC and share those subnets out. And so you've got some central orchestration and management and visibility and everything else. Like this sounds like a pretty good governance model. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking that if you have a business, and how many businesses have we worked with that have a specialized networking team or a specialized cloud networking team? It may be the same team or two different teams, a network or infrastructure team. And they have it for a reason, right? They might be in FinServ or healthcare, or there's like lots of, regulations, and they need to have the controller, the person who manages all this stuff, to be a limited set. This seems like it's perfect for that.
Seems like, indeed. We're going to get to the counter arguments soon. Yes, Matt, go for it.
I have a question. Do we have a bias here? Are we biased by the fact that you have a lot of large enterprise customers that come to us as solution architects and say, I've got a complex environment. What should I do? And we then, as solution architects, architect solutions for these customers. And they have by default generally enough money to pay for teams of people that manage networking. Folks who are on the stream here today, like a lot of you folks manage networking. Are we biased in that direction to say we have a team that wants to have this central governance? What happens with someone who just spins up an app in AWS? Do they care about VPC sharing? Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, there's an interesting question here from Maverick that actually ties back to what you said. I have worked with a customer who does want actually. So the correction afterwards is that does want to use separate VPCs for each account because each account has has assigned to each application team to manage. So see, different management and governance models. To your question, Matt, of if we have a bias here is the question if we have a bias for or against VPC sharing, or if we have a bias for large scale organizations versus smaller scale organizations.
I think it's more. I'm thinking VPC sharing seems like a great model based on the customer engagements that I have with large scale customers. But maybe it's not the right model for the customers that haven't yet graduated to the point where they want one of us to look at their architecture.
Totally.
And so maybe there's a whole bunch of customers where VPC sharing isn't applicable and we just don't see it. Because this sounds great to me based on my experience.
So I'll share the reverse of the coin. I am biased against VPC sharing exactly because of the experience that I have with large scale organizations.
And I'm going to be right where I am in the scheme of things. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm very much a business use case kind of person, where I always ask. I mean, I know you two both ask it. I've been on many calls with the two of you as well. What's your use case? What's your business use case? But I always try to look at that in terms of like for sharing or not, because there are some organizations that just simply cannot think of any other way to control their network. And then there are other organizations, I'm sure you've all dealt with it, where like our network needs to be more fluid. It needs to not be a thing. It needs to be just a method, right? And I think that VPC sharing, if your network is just supposed to be a method as opposed to like a noun or a thing, sharing is not good for that.
We'll get there. Nathan Goodman is sharing. We're early adopters of VPC sharing and have thousands of accounts in our org and using it. Without a central team managing networking VPC/VPCs, this would be a nightmare, but it's not without its issues. We'll dive deeper into that, but thank you for letting us know. This is great.
And
great
put some of those issues in.
Tell us, for sure.
Tell us some of those issues.
I love that comment. Thank you, Nathan. That really drives home my point where VPC sharing, I think, is like there is a need for it. Also, Jamie, we can hear your pug snoring away in the background there. Yes. I think it's hilarious.
Say hi. Say hi.
I will mute him.
Cool. Let's advance here because these are not all the old benefits that I could find. I tried to take an impartial view, by the way. So
wait, there's one more comment where maybe Maverick is saying this is a +4. Oh, whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. We'll get to you, TechField. I think VPC sharing is good for customers who have a dedicated networking team. So I think that's some plus points if you've got a dedicated networking team. I think we're plus VPC sharing.
Yeah. And another use case that I can think of is saving data transfer costs come up when we pass VPC boundary. Yeah, that's one that it's right here. Next part. Operational efficiency, right? First things first, optimize connectivity. Apps sharing the VPC benefit from the default VPC reachability without routing complexity and costs. Exactly what you said. Then better private IPv4 management. If you're not already doing IPv6, you should, trust me. So better private IPv4 management. Private IPv4 is a scarce resource, especially when you're misallocating it. There's a lot of thinking around, well, if I avoid VPC sprawl, I can get to optimally assigning v4 addresses to these applications and I avoid waste. Shared service endpoints. So in this shared VPC, you have a set of interface endpoints, NAT gateways, firewalls that are essentially used by many teams in that shared VPC. So essentially allow you to share these endpoints. And simplified network management. Fewer route tables to maintain and configure, simplified troubleshooting and change management, given that this central team controls everything. Any additions, comments on this one?
I don't know if I have an addition, and we've got some other stuff coming up, but operational efficiency, I love that you can reuse the same NAT gateways because there's a per hour cost for those things. Now, I'll throw in a counterpoint though, in that a very popular architecture we see are customers building a shared services VPC, maybe an shared egress security VPC using transit gateway. So they're centralizing a NAT gateway in that architecture. So that's one way of doing it, or maybe VPC sharing could be another way. We could do the math on how many VPCs it takes to break even and how much cost of data transfer on transit gateway versus if you just use sharing. That's a whole another fork of the conversation though.
Nathan, you're spot on. I love this. Some challenges. We're gonna get to this. So the flow of this session is we're trying to get all the benefits, and then we're trying to see the considerations around the benefits. So yes, everything you've said, noisy neighbors, icing on IPs, not all services working with private link endpoints in the shared VPC, 100%. Let's get to those, and we'll dive a bit deeper into those. Any other benefits for operational efficiency that I may have missed? Let us know in the chat, by the way. Okay, and part 3, developer experience. This is a lot of the thinking around, hey, developers should not worry themselves with networking, right? They should not know networking constructs. They should not care about routes and CIDRs and all that stuff. So hey, VPC sharing makes that really easy, right? So abstract networking where developers don't have to manage all the things in the VPC from a networking perspective. Go for it, Jamie.
How many times are we going to hear about that though? You don't have to worry about routes. You don't have to worry about this. Use this service. I just got to point it out there.
Dream, man. That is the dream. That is the dream. I personally think that we are maybe closer than ever to creating abstractions on top of networking, which are long overdue, honestly. Networking has been around for a very long time, and we've kind of tried to create abstractions on top of it for a very long time, and these break either at scale or in different scenarios. So I think we're pretty close to that.
You ever read that
book? A hilarious comment on that, in that VPC is arguably one of the largest abstractions of networking that exists today. If you think, how many VPCs we have, we have millions of customers. So how many VPCs we have, but we still chose to use standard networking constructs to expose those abstractions, right? Which is interesting. It's an interesting selection of the way we built it.
I always think of like when someone says abstraction, I kid you not, I think of that book Time Machine. You remember Time Machine, where you have like the Eloys, they live a very soft, normal life. They don't know how food gets there. Everything is perfect. And then you have the Morlocks who live underground, and they're the ones that are being abstracted away, which run all the infrastructure and do everything. I think I'm a Morlock, but anyway, it's just kind of.
Are you calling us Morlocks right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, every time. Oh, this is Halloween too, so I'm going to preface that. But every time you abstract something away, someone's still running that abstraction, and stuff is still getting done. Like the network cable never disappeared, right? It was only hidden.
It's still there.
So all I'm just saying is, like, as much as we like talk about abstracting, now we're talking about abstracting other services from other services. I don't know. It's just
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
who was the lead actor in the Time Machine reboot? When was that? Like 2005 or something?
I know his name. He's a director too, right?
Is he? Is he the guy from the Count of Monte Cristo? I think he was in. He's such an awesome actor. He's a Guy Pearce. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's a director too. So anyway, but
well, I have a question. Are you a fan of the original? What is it? 1965 Time Machine, or the new one, or just the novel itself?
Sadly, I'm a fan of the novel. Okay. The novel's good. I mean, the movies are all great, but the book had it well done.
Okay.
I haven't seen either, and I haven't read the book, so that is my action item from today for sure. I do wanna shout out TechField's comment here. Of all the things in AWS networking, the abstraction I like most is VPC lattice.
We'll get there.
I am your fan forever. Yes. Yes. 100%.
It's another service.
Okay. So we're good on the benefits. We all love the benefits. We all love the
I'm
things that
sold. I'm
VPC
going to
share.
go deploy VPC sharing right now. This sounds like an amazing.
I'm deploying it
service.
as we speak. I've got a CFN from the template.
Do you folks not want to wait for like what's next, like to know actually what's gonna be?
Your biggest
Let's
mistake,
find-
Alex, was inviting Matt and I to your show.
No, I love it. I think this is actually one of the best conversations I've ever had on VPC sharing altogether. So I think I will save this to my my list of memoirs for like when I'm gonna be old and revert back to
Well,
things.
let's hope that people don't watch the recording and just stop now. Let's talk about the cons.
All right,
Let's
let's
get
talk about
through.
the cons.
Why shouldn't we
Before we
do
get to
this?
the cons, I had to do a shout out to Connor here. I don't want to share. I share my fries though. I don't share my fries either. So
That's very polite, Carter. You're a nice person.
Joey doesn't share food. Alex doesn't share food, and Alex doesn't like sharing her VPCs either. And we're gonna see why.
Nice segue.
Nice.
Cool. So here's what I was thinking. On the left side, you folks are gonna see the why VPC sharing, right? Some of the things on the other slides that we've talked about being very cool benefits of VPC sharing. On the right side, you're gonna see some of the considerations that you should be aware of when you're going towards VPC sharing. And we'll see till the end where we land, what the conclusion about this is gonna be. So centralized network ownership, right? One team that manages VPCs, CIDRs, routing, security, endpoints, IP allocation, all things routing, right? So roads are built by a team, applications or houses are built by app developers. These are the 4 bullet points we have. So network team becomes a dependency. You need clear processes and automation to avoid becoming a ticket bottleneck for creating and sharing subnets, creating and updating security groups and private link endpoints, or making route changes because the app teams no longer have permissions to do any of those. Security group changes affect all apps that use the shared security groups. So if you folks didn't know, we do support shared security groups. So you can have a security group created in the VPC owner account and share it with participant accounts in that shared VPC. So shared security groups means that the same security group ID can be used by application teams on their workloads. However, shared security groups can also be used in addition to application-owned security groups, which is great. But if your mechanism for enforcing security in the shared VPC is security groups, then you need to have security group governance if that's all you have, because it means really easily if Matt and I are sharing a VPC, we can update our own security groups to allow traffic between each other, and the shared security groups can do anything about that. Anything I missed here from considerations perspective? And I would love for all of you who are using shared VPC to chime in here and see if we've missed anything. What do you folks think? Are you still convinced? Part number 1.
I just got a little worried in that.
Okay.
What if I don't have a networking team? Okay, now we're in a bit of strife. Okay, well maybe we can hire a couple of people to do networking. The clear processes and automation to avoid becoming a ticket bottleneck. That's a little concerning. You've now got hundreds of application teams that want to get access to stuff. How do you manage that pipeline? Manage routing, internet gateways? Jamie, you've got the answer.
I have seen a customer do this, and it was a thing of beauty, actually. They did have shared subnets, but they literally linked into ServiceNow, and they used Service Catalog. So they basically created packages, networking packages, if you will, in CFN. And then it went through ServiceNow, change control, and then they had their automatic processes of allowing or disallowing within their change control. And once it was approved, ServiceNow actually kicked off to Service Catalog, which is our service, and then just immediately launched it. So there are ways around it, but you need to be disciplined.
That sounds very nice, though. Like, I mean, that's exactly what I said, what I meant there by saying you should have a clear process and automation. Like, you should have a process for app teams to request updates. You should have automatic processes to validate those requests, to say, okay, I'm allowing you, I'm not allowing you. mentioned also one super important thing, a service catalog. How many of you have actually service catalogs? How many customers do have service catalogs? And not to say specifically about deployments on AWS, but in general, having a list of all services available in an enterprise seems pretty tough.
Yeah, it's not very easy. And again, sometimes you need to be told how to create that. I was with an organization myself a long time ago in a different life before Amazon, where we were bringing change management to an organization. One of the things I used to do is I used to help companies go from like mid-tier to enterprise, and change management was a big part. ITIL, all of that, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how hard that is, though. I mean, it's like pulling teeth. At least it was for me. And I'm being nice. I'm not fighting with anybody else, but we're just like, these things need to be done. And then you've got those folks out there with their forks slamming it on the table. I want it my way and I want it now. It's like, we need a cab. We need to set up these things. We need to set up a way of approving changes so that something doesn't happen on a weekend.
Is that still the case in like the vibe coding era? Like, hey, we are 36 minutes into our live stream and we did not mention AI. I felt the
I
need
think we
to
got
do
pretty
that.
far. That's might be a record these days.
You broke the rule, so Alex, it's you.
I feel like we need more folks to join. So AI,
Yeah,
maybe that's gonna get us more audience. But no, jokes aside, do you think that developers, like newer developers, startups, think about these things? Think about the like ITIL framework?
Absolutely not. And that's the main reason why it gets so hard, right? If you start out with change management, if you start out with that mindset, then granted your development isn't going to be quite as rapid, fly by the pants, kind of thing. But when you get to the enterprise level, your life will be a lot easier. But absolutely not. I have not. If any of you have, God bless you, but I have not seen any companies that were that disciplined at that. The guy in the back is the CEO, lead programmer, as well as the security guy. You know what I mean? And they're all trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Well, let's be clear though that there's so many different tools that you could be using as a developer, and how is that tool integrated with your VPC sharing environment? Does a generative AI agent say, well, if you give me your credit card now, I'll deploy all this infrastructure by creating a new AWS account? And hold on a second, you're in an enterprise and we already have some other type of infrastructure that you can use, and how do you consume that infrastructure based on bullet point 2? What does that look like? And there's so many options there. I don't think we talk about bullet point 2 enough publicly. I think that maybe it's on us to do more sessions, or maybe we should bring in some other teams to talk about that and help with service catalog and everything else. But it's something we skip over a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Would love your thoughts too, folks. If you're joining us, if you're here on the stream, we're talking about VPC sharing, to do or not to do VPC sharing, and this is a very candid chat. So feel free to drop in the chat what you folks think about VPC sharing, if you're using VPC sharing, if you're not using VPC sharing, why you're not using it, or why you're using it. So
maybe there's a question for folks in the chat, if they're willing to share. How do you consume AWS resources? Is there a central team that vends stuff to you? Do you just have your own account? Like how do you, if you want to spin something up, how do you do it? What's your
Would you
process?
recommend this if you're an SI?
True. There's a really good question. Thank you so much, NWA Cloud Tech. We are multi-cloud, and other providers have followed the VPC sharing pattern all along. So we're glad AWS has the feature share it all. VPC sharing has been around for quite some time, right, folks? I don't know when did we release this? Jamie, you said you helped release it.
let's take a guess. I'm gonna throw out 2017.
I think 2017. Oh, 2019. 2019.
It was 2019.
Says Nathan Goodman.
Okay,
we're trusting you, Nathan.
Nathan, we believe you.
Totally believe you. Okay.
I've been at AWS so long, time is just relative to me now.
Exactly. Maybe 2018. We'll see. We'll take an action item of figuring out when this feature came out.
We could try asking ChatGPT, another AI thing.
Hey, Kiro, please. Kiro.
Okay. Or Q.
Or Q. Yeah, Amazon. Okay, next. Consistent network and security configuration. Again, one team to manage route tables, NACLs, shared security groups across all participant accounts, consistent networking, and so on. Some considerations here. Connectivity requirements of a participant in the shared VPC impact all other participants. Example, let's say a participant has a need to peer that VPC with a partner or with a SaaS provider or with whatever requirements they have. That VPC peering applies to the entire VPC. Or a participant needs an endpoint to a SaaS provider. Let's say we have SaaS provider X and participant number 1 says, I need to access SaaS provider X to send it data. You folks can fill in with your preferred SaaS provider in that area. And security says, well, but sure, app 1 will be allowed. There's a process of allowing app X to access that endpoint, but now app X is sharing that VPC with.
Did I get dropped or did we lose Alex? Oh, you're on mute, Jamie. I think we lost Alex for a minute.
I think we lost Alex. Well,
okay, so she's probably reconnecting. I was actually looking at the AWS blog to scroll back on search terms for VPC sharing to try and find when the first time we talked about VPC sharing.
The first time we did as a blog?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out when we launched VPC sharing so we get the official. Oh, Alex is back. Welcome back.
I put it in the chat. It's 2018 is when we launched.
Oh, you did? You found it? Okay.
Yeah,
do you have the what's new? I'm always trying to find the original.
I can't believe I said 2013. I wasn't even with Amazon. It's been a long night. So that's just
we were close. We were close.
Yeah, but 2018 is the one.
Wait, I will say that March 2013, I think that's right, is when we released VPC sharing. No, sorry, VPC peering. I think that's right.
Oh,
yes.
So if we had peering then, sharing must have come. That was how I was kind of relating it. Anyway, welcome back, Alex.
Right after Classic.
Thank you. I think they heard me. They're like, she's talking bad about VPC sharing. No, we have to disconnect.
They unshared her segment there. That's what it
exactly. Oh man, yeah. Internet connectivity. What can you say? It's always the network. Okay, so connectivity requirements apply to all tenants in that shared VPC. Route changes have or can have VPC level consequences. DNS configuration has VPC level scope. So, for example, if you have a Route 53 private hosted zone, you are associating it with the VPC. It applies to all participants. Another really interesting example here is when you create a private link endpoint to an AWS managed service and you enable private DNS on it, everyone in that VPC will start consuming that service through the private link endpoint. So you need to enforce pretty extensive testing to see how those changes affect the VPC tenants. So consider creating a pipeline for requests, again, with built-in guardrails, auto-approved requests, and exception-based workflows. Keep versioning control and do a lot of testing. Because any change you do now impacts all tenants in the VPC.
Well, it's almost like when we say you create a subnet inside of VPC, you should also create a route table for that subnet and not use I think we call it the main route. We used to call it the default route table, but the main route table for that VPC. Because what happens is you've got many subnets using that one route table. You change one thing and then everyone changes too. You remove a default route because you think it's a security risk, but other people needed that. And so what we're doing here is you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're essentially doing the same thing by sharing one VPC to many hundreds or thousands of applications in that you've got one route to a TGW for the VPC, right? Well, I guess you could have different routes per subnet again, but it is a form of putting all your eggs in one basket is what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
I just thought of another consideration, actually.
Oh.
Limits. The VPC bound limits, right? So if you have a bunch of other tenants that are launching into your VPC, they are going to eat into your limit pool.
We have that. It's coming.
I know, but I just wanted you. I wanted to sound smart for once.
All good. So next, optimize connectivity, part two of considerations. Simpler topology, but harder to enforce or achieve isolation. Once you share subnets, every participant can potentially reach others, unless security groups and NACLs enforce isolation. Not all apps can share a single VPC. This is so important. I've seen so many customers who say, "Oh, like I'm gonna have a shared VPC, and I'm gonna put all my apps in that shared VPC." The reality is that, tied also back to quotas, which we're going to talk about in a bit. You can't put all apps in the shared VPC, not even just from quotas perspective, but also from security perspective. Maybe you have applications that have, I don't know, PCI compliance requirements, or you have prod and dev, or even in prod, you have some applications from another business unit that should be separate. So you must consider having a workload placement strategy. What does this mean? And then deciding which app goes into which shared VPC the moment you have more than just one shared VPC. To create this, you kind of need to know app dependencies and affinities. And I'm going to ask a question here to all of you folks here, and to you, Matt and Jamie. How many network teams have you seen knowing app-to-app connectivity requirements?
I know that's a leading question because I talk about that all the time. In that,
Yeah.
That
a
and
lot
know
of
your
folks don't
flows.
know what apps are talking to what,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's tough. I mean, it's not an easy way to do it, but you have a whole bunch of applications and they're all in the same subnet. For example, forget VPC sharing even, but they're all in the same subnet. How do you then say, well, who's actually talking to who, and how much traffic are they sending? And if I lock down my security groups, who am I going to affect? Right?
Yes.
It's not an easy one to
100%.
solve.
I've
And
seen it.
then, oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
was going to
Jamie.
say, I've seen, and I don't know if you guys have seen the same thing too, but the more regulations and rules that an enterprise or a company has, I've seen more folks in that organization circumvent them one way or another. You know what I mean? Like, you can only do this, and you can only do that, except we have this one thing on the side. You can only have this path, and all this traffic comes in, everything gets filtered, but that one thing over there, right? And so then now you still can't do the governance that you want to do, because that one thing over there happens
Yep.
to run some other part of the business, and if it goes down, your boss calls you up and blah 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 blah.
It is funny though. I'm having memories of whiteboarding with customers, and then they set their rules, and we draw the architecture, and then I'd say, well, hold on, what about that one? They go, oh, that one's special.
Now I'm just going to bring
Yes,
this up because
100%.
Cotter agrees with us 100%. I hope that you're agreeing, but yeah, it's
A
just
special
so
use case. It always gets you every time.
every time.
Yes.
Shadow IT, as we like to call it.
And one more thing there. A lot of customers are saying, oh, but we're going to allow customers, our tenants, right, the app teams, to express their network intent, and to say, to express the fact that they have, like, I'm app owner A, right? And I can go into a repo, do a PR or something, and say, hey, I need to talk to Matt's app and Jamie's app, and I need to allow Tom's app to access me, and I need to make sure Sid doesn't access my app, right? What is the flow with that? Do I know, as an app developer, what my dependencies are?
No, and I'm coming back to the example I used about on premises previously. And there was a guy who managed a firewall, and you would go to that person and say, here's my IPs for my applications, and they would then stitch that together. And that's fine. You knew what you wanted. At that point in time, that person knew what they wanted. They crafted the firewall rule, they deployed it, but it was an ephemeral memory that disappeared. And then you come back a month later and you're like, well, why do I have 10,000 rules here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And the other thing too the thing that used to keep me up at night back when I used to have to manage those teams was downstream dependencies. Right. So this thing's not dependent, but this goes through this thing to get to this.
Yeah.
They were crazy. And then for firewalls, that was the worst. Absolute worst. I added a rule to change this thing. The rule is placed in such a spot, but it blocks this other thing that we didn't know people were accessing anyway.
We have 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure we go to the end of it. And I want to make
Let's
sure I
keep rolling.
convince you folks. The third and fourth bullet point. So a workload placement strategy should take into account considerations not only should take into consideration not only app affinity, like app A is tightly coupled to app B, so it's great that they're in the same shared VPC, but also app scaling profiles. Because again, you're going to say, oh, I'm going to shuffle these apps in the same shared VPC because they need to talk to each other. But some of these apps are going to grow super fast. And again, we're coming back to the fact that VPCs are not infinite. They're virtually infinite, but not infinite. And last is once you deploy an app in a shared VPC, you cannot move it to a different VPC. It's nothing to do with shared VPC. It's to do with deployment overall in any type of VPC. So if you need to move it, either because of scaling requirements or dependency requirements or change in security profile, you do need to redeploy it. It's not great.
I just thought of a cool feature. What if we could just deploy resources in nothing? They just appear. And then it's really the ENIs, including the ETH0, that determines whether it's in sharing or anywhere else, so that nothing resource can still just be there regardless of its networking. Anyway, let's think about that. Let's keep going.
I'm burning
time
version of
here.
VPC Lattice.
Part two of considerations. VPC connectivity becomes multi-tenant with shared subnets, which helps optimize hourly costs. You folks mentioned this at the beginning, but introduces a challenge of cost attribution, as in how much each tenant spent on this NAT gateway that now I get to pay for because I'm the network team that owns this shared VPC. And then my cloud ops is going to come to me and say, well, why are we spending X amount of dollars on NAT gateway, network team? And then you're going to say, well, it's app teams. It's them. It's not me. Fun challenges.
Just throw the hot potato.
Yeah. Second one is consider having playbooks for finding and addressing network contention points and noisy neighbor issues. We had Cotter, I think, or Nathan mention noisy neighbor. They're all sharing, all these tenants are sharing the same VPC, so they can all use NAT gateway, for example, or other VPC constructs that, have limited quotas. And VPC components have quotas. Coming back to the quotas part that you need to take into account in terms of number of private link endpoints, for example, or resources that you can spin up in a shared VPC. I really wanted to get to this one because it's such a common thing. A lot of customers are saying, well, I'm going to better manage private IPv4 addresses. Well, intrinsic problem of IPv4 is it is based on subnetting, and addressing plans are based on the number of hosts that you should have, like how big an application is and how big will get. Problem is with this question in bullet number 1, we haven't been able to clearly answer this question or have very good answers to this question, not even in on-prem world, much less in the cloud world, where applications are so dynamic and they scale and they grow. And what you thought you knew about an application today might not be real about that application or true about that application in a month. And bullet point number 2 talks a bit about some of the considerations if you choose to share subnets with multiple, or a subnet with multiple tenants, or a subnet per tenant. You should keep this in mind. Very important in terms of if you choose to go with VPC sharing, how you share those subnets. Any thoughts on this one?
I have a comment, but I think we only have 6 minutes left, or actually probably less than that. I was just thinking what the difference is between a non-shared environment and a shared environment around the constraints of deploying CIDRs and noisy neighbor and all of that kind of stuff. You're right. You need to have unique addressing for communication or natting, or I think there's a bunch of stuff there, and maybe we don't need to answer that now. Maybe that's another session. Maybe because that's 60 minutes worth of discussion easily.
Next week we can do pre-reinventing, and the week after I'm hosting again. So we should do a follow-up.
Maybe we should come back on that one. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Go ahead.
I really want to highlight this from Code with Sean. The assumed number of IPs needed for a subnet is much like the story of the fish that got away. I swear it was this big. Yes, 100%.
That's actually pretty much right in with what I was going to say. Is like if you're going to be sharing a VPC or sharing a subnet, you have to design the subnet to be shared, and the number of addresses is absolutely one of those things.
So regardless of you doing individual VPCs or subnet sharing, you still need to answer that question. Like, how big should this VPC be, or how big should this subnet be? Even more interesting.
Are we saying that with VPC sharing, it's just more constrained, though? I think that's probably
Yes.
what the key takeaway.
And you have to have more discipline, because then you have to tell the other folks, this is all we have. Don't eat all of the food. Let other people eat too.
Yeah, exactly. And last key point here is around using VPC sharing in combination with overlapping IP space to overcome private IP for exhaustion. I've seen this over and over again, super common. There are some considerations here to take into account. So please keep this in mind. And last but not least, consider scaling options, right? Again, consider cost allocation for these shared endpoints. Sure, you won't have the hourly cost, but you still need to consider throughput limitations. And not all services are supported in shared VPC. I think we've done a great job at supporting shared VPC services in shared VPCs, but you do have to check when you want to deploy a service if it's supported or not. And VPC level quotas apply at the VPC level, not at the participant account level. So keep that in mind as well. One of the most interesting ones is network address units, usage, which is the number of resources in the VPC. I think the quota here today is 256,000 max on a VPC. So it's pretty big, but when you have many applications scaling in the same shared VPC, they might come into issues. Who wants to answer this question? Go ahead, Jamie.
This really depends.
That's a sticker.
Yeah.
We should have a sticker that says "It depends." I've always wanted to make that.
Yeah,
we should have a sticker.
Actually, you have multiple T-shirts with different questions and the same answer. It depends.
I think we're gonna tackle this in the follow-up. And I think the next one we should tackle in the follow-up as well, because we've seen here TechFuel talk about VPC Lattice, so we should see how and if VPC Lattice or Private Link are better alternatives. So what is the conclusion?
I mean, from my perspective, I think there's still a need for VPC sharing, and I think it's still a very popular service. But I think we touched on a lot of the things you need to think about if you are using VPC sharing, and there has to be a fit there. I don't think it's a developer spinning up one application, go and use sharing. I think I've got a central team that wants to control and govern a central environment, and I think it's still a fit there with considerations. I don't know, Jamie, what do you think?
It definitely, I believe that VPC sharing, I agree with the statement, eyes wide open, and it is really good with an organization that either has to have or already has structure, a lot of structure, right? And if you have that, remember when we were talking about the ServiceNow thing and having a CAB and change management and all of those things, knowing your VPC, knowing what the consumers are going to consume, if you know all that stuff and have that mapped out, I think you're good.
Cool. We are at the end of our time here. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and don't miss the episode in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you.